In Charlton Athletic's early years, the club had a nomadic existence playing at several home grounds, and it wasn't until 1919 that Charlton Athletic found a permanent home. Mr. Fred Bond, the club's honorary chairman at the time, found an abandoned sand and chalk pit in Charlton, but did not have sufficient funds to fully develop the site. An army of volunteer Charlton Athletic supporters dug out a flat area for the pitch at the bottom of the chalk pit and used the excavated material to build up makeshift stands. The ground's name comes from the appearance of it being like a valley. The club played its very first match at the ground before any seats or even terraces were installed. The first match to be played at the Valley was Charlton's A team, who beat Somerstown 2-0 in the South Suburban League on the 13th of September 1919. The Valley's first grandstand, which included dressing rooms, was completed in 1922 at a cost of £14,000, and its distinctive multi-span roof would remain in place until it was replaced by a flat modern cover roof in 1979. In 1923, Charlton Athletic briefly moved away from the Valley to play at Catford Southend's Mount Stadium, but this was followed by a swift return home, and from there on the East Terrace was constructed. Jimmy Seed's appointment as manager in 1933 was the beginning of something special at the club, and the famous covered end with a roof was added to the terrace to protect fans from the elements. For a long time throughout the 1940s and 1950s, Charlton Athletic were in the first division until they were relegated in 1957, but it was that year that one of the most incredible games would happen at the Valley, when Charlton staged one of the greatest comebacks in football history. With less than 28 minutes to play, the club was 5-1 down against Huddersfield Town and also down to 10 men, but Charlton managed to come back in the last 28 minutes to record a 7-6 victory. Over the coming decades, Charlton Athletic would play mainly in the second and third divisions of English football. By 1985, the Valley had fallen into physical decline and out of the hands of the club, a combination which would have a devastating effect. On the 7th of September 1985, Charlton Athletic fans arrived for a game against Crystal Palace to be informed by leaflet that the club would be leaving their home and would take up residence at Selhurst Park, home of the opponents that day. 2 weeks later, Charlton beat Stoke City 2-0 in what was thought to be the last ever game to be played at the Valley. Incredibly, Lenny Lawrence would lead his side back to the First Division that same season. In 1988, the ownership of the club and the Valley was again united, and in a grassroots effort that harkened back to the ground's initial construction, thousands of supporters volunteered to clear the ground, eventually burning the debris in a huge bonfire on the pitch. By this time, however, the large terraces were no longer seen as desirable or safe. Charlton Athletic supporters then proposed to completely rebuild the stadium in order for Charlton to return there at the beginning of the 1990 season. However, Greenwich Borough Council overwhelmingly turned down plans to renovate the ground. Club supporters then formed their own local political party, the Valley Party, in response to the council's decision. The party ran candidates for all but 2 of Greenwich Council seats, sparing the 2 councillors who had approved the stadium plans. The party won almost 15,000 votes in the 1990 local elections. This in turn successively pressured the council to approve the plans for a new stadium. In 1991, construction began on the new Valley Stadium, and the club moved from Selhurst Park to West Ham's Upton Park. It was originally hoped that the club would return to the stadium before Christmas that year, but the reopening of the stadium faced a series of delays before finally opening in December 1992. After 7 years of exile away from the Valley, the club played its first match back at the stadium on December 5th, 1992, with Colin Walsh scoring the first goal back at the Valley as Charlton beat Portsmouth on a hugely emotional day for all concerned. When the club returned to the ground, the East Terrace was condemned, the West Stand was a temporary structure, and the dressing rooms and offices were porter cabins. But the Valley would rise again. The crumbling East Terrace was replaced by the modern East Stand in 1994, while the West Stand was redeveloped into a two-tier structure in 1998, just in time for the Addicks promotion to the Premier League as top flight football returned to Charlton Athletic for the first time in 41 years. 3 years later, the covered end saw a second tier added and the north corners of the ground filled in to create what we have today, which is a 27,111 capacity stadium at the Valley. The four stands are known as the covered end, the Alan Kirbishley stand, the West Stand, and the oldest of the four stands, the Jimmy Seed stand. The record attendance at the Valley come on the 12th February 1938 in the FA Cup 5th round. Charlton Athletic played against Aston Villa in front of 75,031 spectators. The record league attendance at the Valley was on the 17th of October 1936, where Charlton Athletic played against Arsenal. 68,160 people attended that game, with Arsenal winning the match 2-0. The record all-seater attendance at the Valley is 27,111, which the club has achieved against Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, West Ham United and Sheffield United, and that's in the days when the club were in the Premier League. Some other interesting bits of trivia about the Valley. In 1967, Len Silver, the promoter at Hackney, made an application to open Charlton Athletic's ground as a British League Speedway club, and plans were put forward to construct a track around the perimeter of the football pitch. However, this application was ultimately rejected. The Valley is also the scene of the loudest rock concert ever. The Who played there on the 31st of May 1976, and it reached 126 decibels, measured at a distance of 32 metres away from the speakers. The Valley has also hosted other codes of sports between 1996 and 1997, and from 1999 to 2000, the London Broncos Rugby League Football Club called the Valley home, and this was during probably their most successful period as a club. So that concludes my video on the Valley, the current home of Charlton Athletic, which has been their home from 1919 to 1985, and then from 1992 to present day. The ground started off from very simple beginnings, and now it's a very nice stadium, holds just over 27,000, and currently Charlton Athletic play in League One. But if you're a Charlton Athletic supporter watching this video, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts and memories of the stadium, and if you're an away supporter, let me know your memories of attending the Valley. Thanks to everyone that's watched my recent video on Bristol's Memorial Stadium. It's much appreciated. This has been History of Football, and I'll catch us all later in the next video. Alright, tatty bye for now.